All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello. We are live. Um, oh, I'm live. I'm in. It's morning here in San Francisco, and of course, it's dinner time, basically, for you, Carl, in France. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
thank
In
you.
Paris, almost 7 p.m.
Oh, well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of places you could be, but you chose to be here. I really appreciate it. Um, Big fan, obviously. I have known a lot of people over the years who have either worked at or worked with Zenica, huge part of the community. And so I'm really grateful for you to be here today.
Thank you very much for that. And a big fan of Spring, and I think we will talk about it, but a very long history with that.
Yep, très longue histoire. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, so I appreciate that. Uh, I know you speak very good English, and yet it is not your first language, and so you're doing an interview with me in a separate language, which is super hard and super impressive. And I really appreciate you. Uh, you know, I know you speak very good English, but it's just I am always so grateful when people do that for my audience and for me because I don't speak a lot of languages. So
And
thanks
you
for
speak
that.
very well French.
Well, yeah, we could do that. We could do the conversation maybe in French, but uh, I think you already have the French community. They already know who you are. This is to reach an even bigger audience. I'm sure most people know who you are, but just in case, who are you?
Yeah, in a quick word, and I try to do my best for my English.
Oh,
And thank you for the invitation, Josh. And hello, everyone. Yeah, very quickly, I've started my career as a programmer, developer, tech lead. I've been working for 4 years, 5 years on the Smalltalk language, and then I switched to Java. At the beginning, it was early 2000. Yeah, and after 10 years consulting, development, and doing technical stuff, and very specialized around Spring Framework, Hibernate, and this part, I created Zenica. I was a co-founder of Zenica in 2006, and now, and for the first years, still invoicing being technical. Now I program some. I've developed from time to time for fun on my spare time. But basically, been running the company for the last 16 years, and we're around 600 people now over the world.
wow. I did a little bit of research. And I read. I have an old number. I heard about 500. It's 600 people. That's incredible. That's 500 is incredible too, but 600.
I
Wow.
should update my LinkedIn and the website.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
I
you very
love it
much.
when yeah, I love it when good people succeed, right? I love that. It makes my heart grow bigger and happier.
And also for the story of the company, as when we started in 2006, I mean, since the first year in 2007, we started a partnership with a Spring Source at the time before the different name changing, and
Right.
it has been a great part of our activity and also the training around the Spring Framework. So we're huge fans at Zenica on that.
Oh, likewise. I mean, I'm such a big fan of you. Obviously, the success of Spring is very much because of the community, right? And if that isn't there, if you weren't there back in 2007, who knows what our position would be today? Probably not nearly as good. Um, okay, so let's talk about it because there's a long history here, and it's it's very rare I get to talk to people who have been involved in Spring for most of its lifetime. So you were doing Spring and Java. Well, actually, no. Let's talk about small talk. I love small talk. Why were you? What was your context for small talk first? Is that in the 90s?
Yeah, 93 to be
Mm-hmm.
precise, 96 even, 96, when I graduated. And I had a tech teacher, IT teacher. He was fond of small talk, and he had a lot of contacts in France. And there's a few big companies that were using Smalltalk a lot, so it was natural to have it during the studies and during a training period, and then to find a job. So it came naturally, and of course, very fond of the language, also a very purely object oriented language, and
Right.
it's nice. And then after a couple of years, of course, the situation evolved, and Java took the place. And of course, like any developer, I want to stay updated and had a CV that could be useful for other employers. So naturally, I switched language and did on other frameworks, other stuff.
So were you all? So this is all in France at the time, right?
Yes, all in France. Yes.
Have you ever used ADA?
No, I never used it.
But it's pretty. I hear it's pretty popular there, or at least has a larger deployment footprint than maybe a lot of people are
Yeah,
expecting.
probably, but never came across this
Okay,
language
good.
in France on my
I
side.
mean, Ada Lovelace is amazing, but the language, yeah. Um, have you? Have you ever tried Objective C, which has very strong small talk
Yeah,
inspiration?
no. Once I switched from Smalltalk directly, it was on the Java space and the JavaScript space.
Yeah,
All the starting of internet, all the development around those
right.
languages. So, um, and then when we created Zenica, it was also around this open source part. So it was really open source oriented after that.
That's a brave. Even I mean, even back then, it was sort of not necessarily guaranteed to work. What I mean, I remember the early 2000s, and I remember the excitement around Java. You were working in Spring already at this point, like
I started the Spring in 2002, in fact, 2002,
yeah,
2003, in the company I was in before creating Zenica. I was in charge of one of the framework that we were building, a tool building in this company to draw like diagrams of your application and web pages. And it was generating struts application and then all the pages, all the skeleton template, so then you can put your program around that. And
wow,
at the time, they were asking me to re-implement this framework and to put it service oriented, and to have to deploy a pattern for dependency injection, to be able to change implementation, this kind of things. And so at the time, I was studying a few frameworks like Pico Container, Spring, Avalon, all those.
Avalon.
And then I made the choice of Spring, and then it didn't, it followed me until now.
Well, it's not a bad choice, especially since all those other ones that you mentioned don't exist really anymore.
Exactly.
Um, but they were very interesting at the time. I remember, uh, you know, there were some things that each of them offered that
Yeah.
was unique. And actually, Avalon I never really liked, but I did like Apache James. Did you ever use this, the email server?
No,
Um,
but I know about it.
yeah, it was an email server based on Avalon, if I remember correctly. The architecture was Avalon, and I just remember thinking, oh, okay, that if it's an email server that's written with a component model and dependency injection in mind, then it must not be so bad. Oh, I'm checking out the website. Oh, those traders! I'm checking the website right now, and it says that they're switching to Juice. Um, wow, they have email. They have like latest posts from March 2024, and they're going to Juice, and it even says the Spring server. So apparently, it was based on Spring for a while, and it's deprecating. They're deprecating the Spring server. So maybe you should have done that, Carl. Okay, you missed the obvious. You missed the train.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, what was really
Oh,
surprising at the time is I'm one of those person. You know, everyone mentioned this period of time where Rod Johnson, and not only him, I think he was co-author of this book, EGBs, G2E
yeah,
application without EGBs.
right.
So this is a true story. I mean, I think this was a game changer. and there's so many capabilities, and it simplified so much things. I struggled a lot, and it really simplified my life. And I think I'm really part of this generation who saw a big switch. And I don't know from any other framework that was such a game changer, open source framework that was such a game
Right.
changer. And I usually say that when you compare that what the industry has produced and that a few people, a bunch of people produced, and how they were competitive against a big industry, it was really amazing.
Well, I agree with you, okay, but also I disagree. Because again, it wasn't just a few people. It was you and your huge company. It was all the customers that you helped. It was like it was just luck. A lot of it was luck. It was a good technology and there's good people, but
A
that's
good
not
community.
always enough. You need good people like you. You need the community to say, I'm going to give this a shot. Um, and so Spring again, I really think it's Spring is great. It's obviously great, and I think it deserves to win. But that doesn't mean anything. I think only because people like you uh, understood it, learned it, made it better by finding bugs and all. I mean, just an amazing privilege to have people like you. That's why I'm very happy to talk to you right now. Otherwise, I just interview all the people. I just keep interviewing Rod. Otherwise, like
Yeah, exactly.
not really. I think the
Lucky
story is
you.
so much more rich, right? Okay, so you're using it, and at the time, I felt the same thing. You said something very interesting. You said I was struggling, and then it solves a lot of these problems, right? And you're obviously very smart, but I am not. And so when I was starting in my work career in 2002, I felt like I'm not smart enough to understand EJBs. I don't understand this. I mean, why would you? It just doesn't feel like it feels everybody's. I saw these books and you saw these covers with these happy people that were building software, and I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I was writing. I had to use X.lit, and then before that EJB.lit, and I was doing all this. It just felt like a lot of crap. It's much better today for EJB. I don't use it, of course, but it is much, much, much simpler. So clearly, they know it can be simpler, but back then they just didn't seem to understand. And you know, just so I felt the same. I felt like, okay, Spring makes me feel like I'm not crazy. It feels like I'm not missing something very obvious.
No,
Okay,
I
so
100%
you.
agree.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I 100%
Um,
agree, and it's not only about simplifying things and just embedding them and providing the tools to generate common problems. But I think it was also so it's I don't know, it makes me old saying that, but it was really well documented and really
yes.
when I give the trainings, I always explain to people to have the sources also and to go and check at the code, because in fact it's also a nice way and
Um,
programming style. It was really helpful to even improve in our usual coding. When we code in general, we could get inspired by how it was done in Spring.
yes, exactly. The documentation and people. There's always people like you and me who have been using this for decades. I remember how great the documentation was. And now the opposite. I mean, I think it's still very good, but the problem today is it's huge, because it does so much. Um, uh, so yeah, and we are always trying to make it better, but documentation is so important. Um, do you know Arnaud Arnaud
Hello.
Lavallée?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, it's a small community, but not that small. Um, okay, so you were using Spring, and then you were working. I get you were working for other companies, solving these problems, and I imagine after a few years, you were quite capable. You were quite skilled. What? Why did you decide to start a company? Hey, it's my friend Holden.
Yeah, so
Hi, Holden.
starting companies it was in fact uh, I mean, some people may know it not be the same in every country, but in France there's a lot of service companies, and there's labor laws and instead of hiring people, maybe you prefer to use a service IT service company, there was like a reputation with engineers and maybe not giving the best credentials to this kind of population. So, in fact, when we decided to create the company in 2006, we had two ideas in mind. One of them is to put an event to help promoting technical expertise, technical skills, and show that programming is really like an art. It's a
Mhm.
craftsmanship. And it's also second thing is to have good internal conditions with people, and it's not only company delivering and doing its revenue, but it's also people saying, and we contributed, participated to different events like the Great Place to Work, and we were ranked first Great Place to Work of our size of company in 2018, and we did it for 5 years. But once we were first, we decided to stop because you can only be less than first.
Right.
But basically, were the two ideas behind it. And when we created the company at the beginning, it was Zenica, expertise in Java G2E.
Aha.
At the beginning,
Okay.
it was fixed to that.
Did you see? So they know you.
And yeah, so we were at JFrog. Of course, we met. Yes, because we
Yeah.
were discussing a lot with JFrog. Yeah.
Right. Small.
Thank
I
you,
love this
Arno.
community. Um, okay, so I think that's really amazing. Being a great place to work is super important, obviously, it attracts a lot of people. But so you started this company 2000 and you said 7 or 6, I forget.
2006. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you like? Did you start with just the local like French scene, or did you market yourself internationally, or like I don't know how you scale a business like this because if you're doing, is it you support other people building their software projects, right?
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so is it training or mentoring or coding or all three or more?
All three.
Mhm.
Training is at the heart of our activities since the beginning. We're delivering trainings, also helping companies to find the people, helping them on the project, build good software. And when we started, like I said, we wanted um, uh, to value the expertise. So we were very, very careful of the people we hire. And for example, one of our first hire, you know this person. His name is Arnaud Cogoluen. He wrote three
Right.
books in Spring, and he joined us uh, quite soon in 2007, 2008. So yeah, basically we did internal growth, and we start getting also people who contributed and commit on open source frameworks. So we were also in partnership with Skills Matter. I think many of people who are hearing us knows about this company. Yeah, at 2006, it was really a different space, and we were amongst not the first one, but amongst the first companies to have conferences, meetups, and getting those people to come and talk about their products. And this make the change, I think, when we started.
I kind of, but still, it's very hard to scale a training organization. What you did is amazing. I cannot believe you have 600 plus people. That's amazing. And so you mentioned Arno. He works on RabbitMQ, right? Really brilliant, amazing person. So it is a very small world, and you and I have another mutual friend. Well, of course, you must know Julien Dubois, of course.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
a small community, a wonderful group, and then I mean the Java community is small. That's what I'm trying to say. Uh, but I guess also the French community is small. Although Devox France was not small. We were just both at Devox France. Enorme,
Yes, more
huge.
than 3,000 plus people. Yeah.
Whoa. I think that's now officially the biggest Java conference on the planet. Um, I
With the
don't know
Vox
if that's true.
Belgium, I think. Yeah.
I don't think Devox. I don't know. I would be very surprised. I think
Okay.
France uh, is bigger. Do you know? Oh yeah, Simon asks if you know Jose Poma
Yeah,
from
of course,
Oracle.
of course, of course. He's
Of
one of
course,
the co-organizers.
yeah, one of the best. So many great people in that community and at that conference. Um, and then we also have another friend, Michel Isfi, um,
Yeah,
or Michael.
Michael.
Uh, Michael, he's now in. Well, he's not in France. It's like,
No, he's based in Singapore now. Yeah.
yeah. But how did you know him? Like,
Uh,
I always love these stories.
Basically, we were working in the same company before I created Zenica. When I say that in this company I was working on modifying the framework and introduce the Spring framework in this tool that we were building. Michael
Mhm.
was already in this company and working on trainings. But I left to create Zenica, and he left to join Spring Source, and we continue to stay in touch. And so for many years, we were partner, him as Spring Source and us as Zenica.
Yeah.
And then he joined. He went. He stayed at Spring Source, became pivotal. He went to China, Singapore, and he was based in Singapore. And after a couple of years, he decided to join us, and he helped us to create Zenica in Singapore.
Oh wow! And also, he's one of the founders of the Vox Days
Yes.
Singapore show. So
Yeah.
see how it all ties together: the Vox France, the Vox Days Singapore, the community. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
the so now you've got these amazing people, and you've got a lot more, obviously, on your in your company. What is the expertise? I mean, it cannot just be all Spring and Java, right? There must be a million other things you're doing.
No, of course, now it has evolved a lot, and it's around still around the Java space, but also around all the front technologies. It's around
Mhm.
DevOps, Kubernetes. It's around cloud, of course. It's so. In fact, basically, when I said that at the beginning when we created Zenica, we were Zenica like the Java and G2E expertise company.
Right.
After a few years, after a couple of years, we added Java, G2E, and Agile. But
Yeah.
now instead of adding every time a new stuff or new domains, now just to summarize, when I pitch the company, I say that there's the organic world, the digital world, and we're doing the link between both worlds. So it's
I see that.
everything. Yeah.
I saw that on the website. You have a very nice. Let me see if I can find the website here.
Yeah,
Zenica.com, right?
and basically it's because for me it's a good image because doing the link it's with a two word. It starts with an interface. It can be any kind of interface, a voice, a web, a mobile, whatever. All the plumbing and all the elements up until the data that you store in the database, and then how
Right.
you manage this in agile way, and using DevOps, of course, and also in a secured way. So in the whole cycle we have expertise on the whole cycle.
So how does it work when somebody comes to you? Because obviously, you have a lot of expertise, but other people have they also feel like they have expertise. So do they come to you and say we want help with X, Y, and Z, or do they say we just need to build this application, however you want to do it, or how does that relationship begin?
Yeah, it's both, in fact, because like I said, we were when we started doing all those meetings in 2006, 2007. It was really early. It gave us a kind of a visibility, and of course, every company that needed some expertise on this or this domain just to complete their teams, they were asking us. Not only us, but they were coming to us. And also, it's about projects. So basically, they can tell us, okay, I need to deliver this project. Can you help us? And we take the whole responsibility with the delivery, the design, product, technical part. So
Wow.
yeah, it's completing the existing teams and it's developing projects for them.
Is most of this in France or in Europe, or is it? I mean, it's worldwide, I know, but where is the 80%, or the plurality?
Yeah. It's 85% is in France. Like we're in
Mhm.
11 cities in France, and the rest is basically in Singapore and in Canada, in Montreal. And we
Oh,
have since last year we have also presence in Morocco.
okay, naturally, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're in North Africa, you're in North America, and of course, you still can speak French. That's wonderful. Singapore, not so much French, but
No, not so much, but we adapt.
yeah. um, uh, so in Europe, I think there are wonderful, wonderful problems. Problems that are good problems to have. So, for example, GDPR makes tech
Yeah,
more difficult, but it's a good thing to have, I think, in general, and it's better to have more privacy than less. So, is there a lot of like how, to what extent are there problems in technology that are unique to the European region that you have to deal with that maybe people don't think about if they're building something in other governments or jurisdictions?
Yeah, the one you mentioned is one of the most obvious, and I think another one. I think it's that in France we were, and maybe in Europe, but at least in France we were more in advance on the all the green IT topics.
Oh, well,
So the green IT topics.
okay, right.
So to be careful about what you produce, how you code, to do some eco-conception. So I don't know in the rest of the world, but if I look, like for example in Singapore, now they're totally being careful with that, and it's you can see it everywhere. But a couple of years ago, it was not yet. But in France, yeah, it has been a few years now. So I think
Wow.
this is one of the topics where we can find more impact on what we do and the kind of programs companies in France and software they need to build, because they need to have some traceability to be able to say how was your carbon impact, stuff like that.
You know, that's very interesting. Um, I don't. I don't know much about that world because, like you say, it's not necessarily a primary focus here. But I do know that there are like I have a cousin and she works in she's a lawyer for clean energy,
Yeah.
specifically that industry. And I know that architecture. My mother, she used to do interior design, these kinds of things, and so she's very interested, even though she doesn't work in it anymore. She's very interested in sustainable, like engineering for houses and architecture. How do you build homes that are clean and carbon neutral? Um, and then of course in software, this is a big thing now, and we see all these cloud companies. One of the one of the what they will say, and I don't know, I haven't gone there and checked, but they say that because they have scale, they can build data centers that are carbon neutral, right? Which is a cost that a lot of us uh, regular people without $1 billion to spend on a data center cannot do. They can do crazy things like building a data center underwater or something like this. Um, is that true? I mean, how hard is it for a regular company to go carbon neutral? Do I have to use the public cloud, or is it possible to just use some ARM and some Raspberry Pis or something like this and get a similar result? Or
No, it's a very tough topic, and it really depends because even when you one of the basics, for example, is in IT. Most of the carbon emission comes from the building of the product of the device. So I think if the numbers are, if I don't mislead the numbers, it's like 80% of the cost is for building the device, and like 20% is the usage, the consumption. So basically, one of the main items, if you want to be careful on this, is to manage all your devices, machines, phones, laptops, all this, and to make them last longer, because this is one of the biggest impact on IT is the production of the devices.
huh.
Uh, then the rest, when it's about electricity, it depends also on the countries. Big topic, because we can always debate, but if the country has most of its energy comes from coal, I think, yeah, coal,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
yeah, or if you have a nuclear plant, it's not at all the same impact carbon-wise.
Right. Right. No, that's a good point. Yeah. In France, you have, I mean, Europe in general, the Western Europe, Northern Europe, they're very, very clean energy centric, Uh,
Yeah,
so
at
that's a
least
good point.
at least with much less carbon impact for sure.
Are there laws governing compliance there? Like, do you have to build software that is carbon neutral or something like this? Or is that something that people might vote for? Like, is that a direction people might go?
On software directly, no, but all companies have to respect some compliance on that. and the IT is part of it, and not only, but not only domain. And so the if they do some actions on those different domain, like the production they have, usage of plastic, usage of their IT, I mean, all those adds up, and we have like labels to see if how clean is the company, or how it can be. And this has a huge impact on finance with investors, and also when you work with other companies, when you have providers, uh, there's also a screening of providers, and you can orient it to work with providers that are more careful on those topics. So it's a whole chain that puts in place slowly, but yeah, it has an impact. And I see it with investors also. Some of them, when they invest, they have a CSR criteria to respect also.
A CSR?
I think it's the word CSR. It's I will check if it's the English word correctly. Uh,
Oh, it's a certificate. Oh, okay. Certificate signing request? That's different.
CSR. I will give you the English meaning
Okay,
of it. Maybe if someone
no
knows,
problem.
can put it on the chat.
Yeah. Can you describe it? Is it like a change requirement
Yes,
or
it's about what the company does around the ecology, the environment, around also
okay.
the social action, salary, stuff like that. It's the overall responsibility of the company to have a positive impact on the environment, but also on the people.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I this is why I think a company like Zenica is very, very useful because you are already meeting a higher bar for privacy and for carbon footprints. You are already ready and able to meet the European standard and the French standard. And so for companies who want help building clean, privacy aware, secure software in corporate social responsibility.
Yeah,
Aha.
exactly.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So for people who want people for companies who want help building secure, private, climate positive, green software, Zenica already has these skills, right? They are already meeting a much higher standard than most of the world. So it'd be very smart for companies in America who want these kinds of um, uh, you know features in their systems to talk to Zenica as well. I think.
Yeah, and this is one of the domain, I think, where in Europe, in France, we've been working on those subjects for a few years now.
Ah, okay, that's amazing. So does this mean that you cannot run JavaScript in France because it is terribly inefficient? Like, just
Like I say, this is maybe not the most costly part, the whole thing to take into account. And thank
right?
you for the translation for people who commented on the CSR.
Yeah.
I know the French
Mhm.
version. I didn't. Yeah,
What is the uh, what is the French version?
it's the name RSE, but it's the same thing as CSR. But I didn't know
Okay,
the meanings of the letters in English.
okay, okay. Um, so we have this. Okay, so that's obviously a very unique thing to think about these things. Is there a I wonder if you can tell people without giving away the secrets or anything, but can you tell people on like, is there a way to which cloud would people run on, or is there a interesting technology people should be looking for, or I just give us a clue, like how do you get carbon neutral software? You don't have to give away your consulting business, but what is something interesting that people should check out?
No, like I say, I think the most important part is to look at the devices and make them
Mhm.
last as long as possible. This, if there's one thing to have in mind, this is the best one. Not change phone every year, or make
Okay.
your laptop last, your device last much longer, because this is, like I said, 80% of the carbon impact is from the production of the devices.
I
So
see.
this is the main one. So it doesn't mean anything to optimize your coding algorithm, all the stuff, if you don't manage the life cycle of your devices.
But But this makes it more important than ever to build efficient software so that it can continue to serve
Of
older
course,
devices.
of course.
Ah,
And for the cloud part, all the main ones are working and under data centers to be carbon neutral, have green energy, all the stuff. And you know, one of the interesting fact is those companies have their CSR and the reporting they do on this field. And I think it was last year when those companies published the reports. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Microsoft, where they in the reports they mentioned that they had a 25% consumption of water more than than the previous year. So the consumption of water increased by 25%, and probably it's to cool all the systems that are working on AI stuff like that, because AI also sorry. Blockchains are very
yeah.
energy consuming.
Well, AI too. AI is
Yeah, exactly.
very, very efficient right now. It's Python. This is one of those places where I love Java because it's very energy efficient. It's in the top five most energy efficient languages with C, Rust, C++, Ada, and then Java, according to a study in 2018. Um, so you have this oh, 25% over just 1 year. That's actually terrifying if you think about it. I mean, that's oh, but on the other hand, at least a cloud computing company has existing hardware and you can reuse and get the most value out of that. So it's bad that they're wasting that much water, but hopefully this means they can keep reusing the same machines instead of me buying brand new ones and putting them in a new data center that, I just want to reuse somebody else's investment. Maybe
Exactly,
that's
it's
good.
about the usage that you do, etc. And this is why in all those topics, software is part of it, but we have to look at the overall life cycle of the machines and the programs. And also, when you do web application, a lot of simple things to pay into account, like how many data will get into the request, the size of the images, all the stuff. It's
Right.
not only because of speed and to have a faster response, but it's
Energy.
also about the volume of data and that is handled, and so
Um,
it's the whole chain, and there's a whole topic around eco-conception to build more eco-friendly softwares.
right. Are you working in the world of artificial intelligence, all this new LLM stuff? Is that a huge thing? Because I imagine there must be a problem with privacy, and so if you're in France, it could be a little bit of a problem,
Yeah, of course we work on it. Who does not?
right?
I think it's a mandatory topic, and of course, but yes, the idea is to be careful, specifically when you use non-paying accounts because of the privacy of the data. But
Right.
then, if it's integrated in some of the cloud providers, etc., it's like anything. You already, when people who use already cloud, they already have their data stored in different places, and they already have to take into account those things.
Yes. Is there? I noticed when I was in Devox France, there, when in France you have a Hugging Face
Yep.
and Mistral. These are both strong French presence, and they're both local uh, LLMs, which is interesting to me. I think we need more of these because for everybody who throws all their data in the cloud, there must be an alternative. Um, Interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yes, I know they're building a sovereign cloud also, just to be sure that where the data, which where physically they are stored. But again, for me in AI, when you use those providers, it's the same thing as when you were just storing your data.
right. Yeah. Uh, I wonder. I mean, I'm sure there must be some sort of. What I wonder about is the encryption of the requests, the privacy, all this kind of stuff. It's very hard to understand with OpenAI, for example. When I send in a request, what does that mean for traceability and all that stuff?
Of course, and those are open systems, so this you need to be very careful. But again, providers, AWS, Google, they have their own AI system, and when you use it in their environment, you pay for it. So they're supposed to guarantee the privacy of the data.
Okay, in compliance with
Yeah.
European law. That's a very difficult thing to do, but good.
And there's this AI act. I forgot the name. That is new. I cannot talk about it too much because but yeah, in Europe they try to also put some legislation around the AI and around privacy, and so I don't know more about it. I cannot talk about it. But yeah, this is
I don't
something
know
that are
that.
put in place that is specific to Europe, I think, at the moment.
I have you seen the movie Dune, or have you read the books?
Yes, but not the Dune 2, not yet.
Oh, okay, well, it doesn't. I mean, before both movies, thousands of years ago or a long time ago, there was a AI war, and so they made it illegal to use machines that can think, right? That's
Yeah.
why even though the story is in the future, the very far future, they have no AI, they have no computers, right? Because they had thousands of years, a long time ago, they had a war that made it illegal to build one of these things, to build a computer that can think. So I wonder if that's where we're going to go. I wonder if this is how we get to Dune,
Yeah. But anyhow, for a fun fact, like I told, I use Spring a lot, and I did a DevOps talk last year.
Uh-huh.
But in my presentation, I was using what I was used to at the time.
Yeah.
So it was on the Eclipse editor. It was using XML. It was, I mean, some people say it was a little bit outdated, even though the basics were here, the fundamentals of how Spring worked. So to be up to date. And during my last holidays, I did developed a small game, and I used ChatGPT to help me get faster on track, and to help me be a more microservices using Spring Boot, using IntelliJ, all the tools that I did not use when I was programming, and
Right.
it was really nice to have ChatGPT as a mentor for that. I could ask him any question, even the silliest one, with no judgment.
Yes, but this is why I like Zenica again, because I think, as you know, ChatGPT can sometimes make mistakes. It can lie sometimes. Sometimes it says something that sounds
Yeah,
good, but it's complete rubbish. And so this is why I think Zenica is so useful. Is I can go to Zenica and I can say, is this how I would do it? And you actually know. You're not just on auto completion algorithm.
yeah, of course. Copy paste.
I'm a, I'm a, I appreciate that. And also, I mean, ChatGPT. I mean, yes, I like my code assistants. Have you seen the Devox Genie? They
No.
released a plugin. It's a local IntelliJ IDEA plugin
Okay.
that uses. I think it can use anything that any major LLM. So you can do local LLMs as well. It doesn't have to be cloud. And it'll sit there and help you with your code in your IDE. But
Yeah,
now it's
I have to check that.
yeah, it's a problem because right now you have IntelliJ AI, Copilot, Google Code Assist, Google Gemini Code
Yeah.
Assist. You have Devox Genie. You have Amazon Q, and you can have them all enabled. So one makes a change, the other one says, no, that's not good. It makes a change. The other one says, no, that's not good. It makes it, and you get into a AI war inside of your IDE, and nobody wins. You're just like just fixing each other all the time or suggesting.
Yeah,
And so
maybe.
now
Never tried that.
it's a little too much. I just like, no, stop it, leave me alone. I'm gonna write but I prefer to have the bugs instead of having to fight with all these suggestions. Okay, so you of course are a CEO, and you spend a lot of time doing the executive function of the business, and obviously it's very cool that you can still write code and give talks and all that. I actually liked your talk from DevOps France 2023, Le Secret de
You?
Spring. Um, it is. You're right. You mentioned some of the fundamental things, and but still, that stuff is still true. You're not. It's good to know this stuff, even with modern Spring Boot and all that. Um,
Yeah.
and it's very cool to see a CEO who can still code, right, or still wants to code. I think that's very inspiring. This is a very good sign for your company.
I think that I mean, of course, I speak for myself and maybe for people who are here, but I think once you code, it's and you like it, it's like a passion.
Right.
So it's hard to stop. So of course, it's not part of my job anymore, but I never wanted to stop that. And yeah, what I did, it's just to challenge myself, and because I like it also. So it was a yeah fun moment.
When you hire people, are you involved in the hiring process anymore, or like how
Um,
does it look to bring somebody on into this company,
Yeah,
huge company?
since 2 3 years, I think when COVID started, I did I still do sometimes interviews, but it's more about the vision, about the company, about the challenges, and not technical interviews. But until 4 or 5 years ago, I was part of some technical interviews, and I liked doing it. And usually, I was seeing okay, I was not seeing the people on Kubernetes. To have technical interview on this or on any JavaScript. But when people were knew about Java, Spring, uh, Hibernate, etc., I could interview them, and it was interesting. Those because I asked them at the end how it was, and sometimes they tell me that they learn stuff during the interview. And I like exchanging and with them. So yeah, I was still doing it until very recently.
That's amazing. Oh wow. Um, well, I don't. I just think you're really, really amazing. I cannot believe it. You have a company with 600 people worldwide, helping people build better software, and it sounds like it's a very cool company. If even the CEO is like deeply invested in understanding the technology, there, it's like you said, we have Chat GPT, we have these things that give us little help. But in terms of the big picture, in terms of I want green software and systems, or I want to secure private, privacy aware systems, I don't think anything will give you the substitute for that expertise, for those decades of experience um, that Zenica has. So I'm very honored to meet you. The we've had some people in the chat. They say they know you, and of course I know you, and other people that I know that I like also know you. You have done something amazing here. Um, are you? As I'm trying to be mindful of the time. I know dinner is soon. Are you on the internet? And if so, do you want to be found on the internet? And if you want to be found, where should people find you?
Um, so first of all, thank you for all your kind words. So I'm not that much on internet. I have a Twitter account, but I don't use it. I just check sometimes. So no, the best place to find me maybe on internet is on LinkedIn, and if you want to send me message extra, and otherwise Twitter because I still have still configure it even if I don't use it that much. So I would say LinkedIn and Twitter to find me on the internet.
And of course, zenika.com. If they want to reach your
Yeah,
whole team, right?
yeah, exactly.
And you do work in other countries besides Canada, Singapore, France, and Morocco. Like, will you do something in Germany or in Mexico or?
No, 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 not yet. Not yet. We had some attempts at the time in Greece and in UK, but at the moment, no. We have other plans, but we'll see how it goes. But at the moment, it's in those four countries.
Wait, so you have 600 people, and it's just for those four countries? Wow, man, good. Wow, that's amazing. I thought you were like all over the world, and 600 people is still very big, but four countries. Oh,
Yes. Yeah. For the moment, 4.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so cool. I am wow. Okay, that's amazing. And anything that people should know before we sign off? I mean, I don't want to take away any
No, maybe
opportunity.
if they have questions, whatever, would be great. If they have 1 or 2 questions, uh, we'll be
Oh,
happy to answer. But just want to say, Josh, was really nice thank you for the invitation. And for me, the whole not only technically, but the whole Spring environment, people around it, people that were involved at the beginning. This is like you said, a huge community. They were really open-minded, and like you say, 20 years after, by 15 years after, we still see the impact. And going at the Spring one, going at those old events was really great. And it's not only about coding; it's really about community and mindset.
right. Absolutely. All right. I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much. Merci d'être venu. I'm happy
Avec
you're here.
plaisir.
Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day. Good night. Good evening. Good morning. Good afternoon. Goodbye.
Bye bye.